It was Missy's idea to spend the first few hours of Black Friday in front of a computer screen. The weather, as often during that time of the year, was awful. Perhaps an omen I should have picked up on from the start. Most shops won't open till 9 anyway. Isn't it best to get a head start? That's what she said on Thanksgiving evening, half drunk, but still quite alert. Tia agreed. She desperately needed to find a wedding dress for elopement in just 2 months. As for me, why not? I still remember those words coming from my mouth, though now they sound alien somehow. Had I known, what would have changed? We sat down around Missy's old computer. Apparently, she didn't want to use her good laptop for some reason. As the ancient machine whirred to life, I couldn't help but notice that Missy was acting a bit oddly. She kept on looking between us and her phone, tapping something into her device every couple of seconds. You good? Your dinosaurs come back to life. Tia nudged her on the shoulder, evoking a quiet yelp. Missy's always been a bit jumpy, but I couldn't help but wonder just why she was being so weird. Yeah, I was just looking up the link to the website I want to start with. It's a bit obscure, so you can't just search it up easily. Isn't that, illegal? I asked. Perhaps illegal wasn't the best word, but it sounded perhaps a touch too good to be true. Nah, it's used by millions every year. Or so their page says, at least. We loaded up the sketchy-looking website only a few minutes later. It looked broken, with half the text being just links copy-pasted all over the site. Click here for sales, some of them said. The others were a bit more disturbing. Looking for the perfect woman? Click here to see her live. Lost your beloved? We can get her back for you. What the heck is this thing? Tia tilted her head to the side as she said that, lips pursed. She was clearly unimpressed, and so was I. Are you sure it's safe? Missy hummed, typing BF sale into the search bar on the very top. It is. I use it all the time to nab sales. Come on, don't be such a wimp. I wasn't sure how to feel about the whole thing either. I couldn't help but remember those old internet safety videos my parents made me watch again and again growing up. Don't give out your personal information just to anyone, I murmured to myself, but shook my head when the others looked at me. Memories I tried to suppress clawed at my mind, begging me to leave the room. Still, I had no choice but to stay. I desperately needed new clothes for work. My boss had been scolding me again and again for not wearing the right stuff, and well, he was threatening to fire me. I was broke, though, way too broke to afford the fancy garb he wanted his waitresses to wear. When I left my unkind ex a year ago, I was barely able to escape him. I had nothing but the clothes on my back. I shook my head, trying not to get too caught up in the thoughts as we all wrote in our email addresses, names, and more. Make sure to type your middle name right and allow tracking, Missy said at some point. I didn't take you for having so much attention to detail, Missy, I joked. You wouldn't have been fired from your last job if you had it back then. Missy scowled, but said nothing. Seconds later, as she hit the enter button, our profiles appeared on the website on the right. But there is something off. Why are we here as items? I asked, reading the labels again and again to make sure. Missy's name was also missing, which was weird since I saw her type it in before. Might be a translation error or something. I bet this was made by foreigners or whatever, Miss muttered, biting down on her lip. She was anxious about something. Huh? I was taken aback when the ancient web camera Missy had attached to her screen made a loud noise. Only then did I notice that the light to its right was blinking red. It was recording. Is this supposed to happen?
Yes.
The answer didn't come from Missy, but from her speakers. My blood froze in my veins. Someone's watching us. I said those words out loud, though perhaps I should have stayed quiet. But I knew that voice. Huh? Oh, no, that was just some silly audio clip I clicked on. Here, look, I found the store you guys wanted to hit up. See? 90% off. Go choose whatever you want. Missy bounced back from looking nervous, her lips stretching into a smile. It was odd, I realized. She was wearing fancy makeup I'd never seen on her. Even her shirt was brand new, which was strange. Right before Black Friday, really. What the? It must be a blackout. I'll go and see if I can fix it. That was the last time I saw Missy. I wanted to ask her to stay, to not leave us alone in her room in the dark, but my voice was frozen in my throat. At that point, I didn't even understand just why I was so scared, but I was shaking. And then I realized it. This whole setup was nothing but a game that he and his friends made up to mess with me. But why did Missy sell me out? We need to get out of here. I stood up, grabbing Tia's hand. She looked perplexed as well, her head tilted to the side. What? We need to leave now. I dragged her down the stairs, my heart pounding in my throat so loudly I was worried whoever was lurking in the shadows could hear it. I knew it, though. The second we sat down in front of Missy's old computer, we'd lost. Winning meant freedom. Losing, well, it stood for nothing short of misery. And yet I knew that I was just amusing them even more.
Stop. Don't even think about moving any further, Cecilia. By the way, Missy, darling, thank you for your help. I left you some extra cash on the sofa. Treat yourself to something nice.
The same voice as before, though less distorted, came from right behind my ear. I knew it. It was him. Missy had sold my location out to my ex, but why? I didn't have time to think. Not when large hands grabbed my neck, rough on my soft skin.
Stay quiet, and everything will be fine.
I obeyed, but I knew he was lying. Nothing would be fine again. Not when I had him in my life.
I stood in the bedroom, gazing out of the window with a sense of dread. My wife, the one I had promised to love forever, was gone, and I couldn't say I was looking forward to her return, but I had to wait and watch, just to ensure that the conversation with my brother remained our little secret, safe from her ears. But you need to get that before the end of the year. When are you gonna do it? Black Friday. Crushed by a sea of people? Dang. No, people are unpredictable. It'll have to be merchandise. That's a little harder. Can you do it? Maybe something in the workout section. We've got these new bench sets and super heavy with all the weights, and they keep them up high. Okay, so can you do it? I can rig something up. Good. It's just around the corner before the holidays. It'll be the perfect excuse to get out of going to her family's house for Christmas. Damn, that's dark. You're just gonna ghost them? Not having to go to their house makes it worth it, even without the money. That bad? Do you really have to ask? They seemed alright to me. I've got better things to do than burn my life away listening to another BS fishing story from her dad, or the latest gossip from her mom. Yeah, Susan's family is the same. Oh, and we're doubling down. What? 2 words. Wrongful death. Genius. Never let a tragedy go to waste. They'll probably offer a deal. They don't want the press of a trial. I hear stories about it all the time. Not my store, but others. I'll gladly accept a reasonable offer. After all, I am a reasonable man. Does that mean I get more too? 20% of the total take. All to get out of Christmas. Remind me not to invite you to New Year's. Yeah, right. With all that cash, we'll be living like kings. What are you gonna tell her parents? I'll tell them I'm away dealing with my grief or some crap like that. Damn straight. Oh, and the tow truck is a go. I have a migrant driver. He's set to go as plan B. You just have to give him a call the day of if we need him to back off. He's chill? Yeah, he just needs the cash. There's a tow he can steal from a family member. They work late, so they should be sleeping. He says he can make it look like a joyride. Plus, he's illegal and he's new here, so no prints in the system, and he won't be in a hurry to get involved with law enforcement. Perfect. Hey, I meant to ask, how are you gonna get there the day of? And how are you gonna get her there? We'll drive together. I'll tell her we need a new TV or something. You think she'll buy that? I'll figure it out. You just worry about your part. Just make sure you don't drive back with her if Plan A doesn't go right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon. As she walked through the door, I couldn't help but envision the hefty payout I had carefully planned to receive from our life insurance policy. It was ironic to think that just last week she had chided me for my supposed lack of follow-through, and little did she know I was now fully committed to following through with the plan I had set in motion.
I'm home.
Hey, sweetie. Damn, you're looking fine. Did you get your hair done?
I look good?
Like $1 million bucks.
Oh, stop. And actually, there's something I wanted to talk to you about.
That doesn't sound fun.
Well, we aren't doing anything for Thanksgiving, which is okay, but my parents really would like it if we came by for Christmas. And before you say anything, I know it wasn't your favorite last year, but it would mean a lot to me if we go.
For you, I would do anything else. Anything else. Just choose it.
Come on, please.
All right. Yeah, sure. We can go. But you owe me.
Oh, really? Owe you what?
Forgiveness. I was trying to clean up the cords behind the television and I knocked it down. It's broken.
Are you serious?
I know things are tight, but I thought we might be able to find a sale or something to replace it.
Yeah, I mean, we can always go out on Black Friday and get one on a discount. It's only a week away.
Oh yeah, good idea. Why didn't I think of that?
Well, I guess you still need me for something.
Many somethings, my dear, and don't you ever think different. A week later, we found ourselves standing outside the door and I couldn't contain my anticipation. Our financial situation hasn't improved much over the past year and I was eager to finally secure the much-needed payout. I knew I had to keep my composure until everything was done. With any luck, the plan within the store would unfold smoothly, and I could secure not only the life insurance payout, but also a wrongful death claim against the retail giant. It was all a bit of a mystery to me at that point, but I couldn't help but feel enthralled as I waited to see how everything would unfold.
I told you we should get here earlier. We might not be able to get the best deals. They might get bought up before we even get inside.
Paul's working today, and I had him hide one of the televisions that I like so we can get it without fighting the crowds in the electronic area.
So we'll just run in and get that, then get to the register as quick as possible. They should be opening the door any moment.
The doors opened and the crowd started pouring through, but I needed her to continue alone to the planned spot. I couldn't be seen near the accident, or else I could fall under suspicion. Hey, I really need to use the bathroom.
Right now?
Yeah, but it's in the sporting goods aisle, 34B on the top shelf, bay 19. Paul put one of those inventory poles there. Just use it to get the television down. I'll meet you at the register.
Jake, wait!
You'll be fine. After the crash and commotion, I leisurely made my way to the sporting goods aisle. When I couldn't pretend any longer that I didn't know who it was, I rushed to her side, holding her hand as she lay bleeding and unconscious. Paramedics and police arrived and she was declared dead on the scene. I put on a convincing show of shock and sadness, even managing a few teary-eyed moments. Then, I left the chaotic scene, heading back home, a mix of shock and elation swirling within me. Driving away from the store, I cranked up the music, singing along loudly. At a four-way stop, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Paul. I started to pull through the intersection, then glanced at my phone to read the message. They're interviewing me next, then we'll touch base. You made the call, right? I looked up just in time to see the headlights of the tow truck plowing into the side of my car.
The day began fairly normally, bright and sunny, with people buzzing around the Meadowville Mall like worker bees looking for honey. We were in the midst of Black Friday madness, and my goal was to purchase a PS5. It was known as the golden ticket of gambling. I was there, weaving my way through the crowd of customers and inspecting each store when it happened. I saw the final PS5, the proverbial holy grail. I swooped down on my beating heart, thinking I had struck it rich. Before I could start my happy dance, however, a wild-eyed man dressed in ragged clothes charged at me while hollering like a banshee gone bonkers.
Hey you! You can't have that! It's mine!
I tried to be the calm one and tell him there might be more elsewhere, but this guy was crazy. He charged at me while reaching for the console with a rabid animal's claws. I wasn't about to relinquish control in this struggle of wills. Thankfully, a big, hulking shopper intervened and made an effort to calm the crazy guy down. He assured us that there might be additional PS5s available. The madman eventually calmed down, and people started to leave. I paid for the PS5 and quickly left the store, feeling triumphant but a little shaken. My nerves were on edge throughout, but I knew it was over. How wrong I was. I was half expecting to see that nut job again as I drove, so I kept looking in the rearview mirror as I got going. But he was gone, absorbed by the mall shoppers. I felt a wave of relief. I believed I was free to go home. I then became aware of a vehicle following me, its headlights flashing like lasers in a sci-fi movie. My heart sank as I squinted. He was there. The insane PS5 user. I floored the gas and swerved through the maze of streets in an attempt to lose him, but he clung to me like glue. I finally stopped, feeling like an encircled animal. My voice trembled as I asked, "What do you want?" His breath was coming in ragged gasps as he stepped out of his car. His eyes were glassy and he murmured,
That PS5, I require it! Your lack of comprehension, beyond anything else, I need it!
He was far beyond just being obsessed. It was as though he were speaking to a mad wall. Then, with one hand reaching into his coat, he withdrew a rough piece of metal that could be used as a crude weapon to cause serious harm. As quickly as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, I handed over the PS5 as fear swept through me. He grabbed it as if it were his long-lost lover, his eyes turning into twin searchlights, and then he just vanished into the night. I was shaking hysterically as I made my way home, thinking what a disaster Black Friday had been. Worst of all, it wasn't over yet. He wasn't just some irrational nutcase, but psycho dude. The plan he had, it turns out, would make your skin crawl. He had been stalking me before the mall, I discovered after doing some investigation. He had picked me as his victim, and the PS5 was just the bait. He was a real-life psycho who engaged in perverse games. It's at this point that the narrative turns gloomier. 1 week later, I got a mysterious package with a USB drive. I plugged it into my computer out of curiosity and mild fright. When the screen finally came to life, there he was, the psycho himself, with that same crazed expression. His voice began to speak, and it was utterly insane. He scoffed.
I hope you're having fun with your precious PS5, but I have another surprise in store for you. Something thrilling.
As the video went on, I experienced a chill up my spine. He admitted that he had installed covert cameras throughout my home to keep an eye on my every move. He showed me a video from the day that he had pursued me out of the mall. He had complete knowledge of all my habits and daily activities. He hissed.
I want you to play a game, a contest of wits. I'm always going to be looking. If you follow my advice, you might survive to see another day.
Adrenaline flooded my veins and my heart beat like a drum. It was like being in a real-life horror movie, and I had no idea what the hell I had gotten myself into. A series of strange and dangerous challenges were issued by the psycho maniac, each of which pushed me to the limit. I had no choice but to participate if I wanted to continue breathing, because it was a game of survival and a living nightmare. I became aware that I was entangled in a dangerous dance with a lunatic as the days turned into weeks. He constantly planned ahead, watched, and waited. It was a never-ending nightmare with no sign of an end in sight. A twisted tale of obsession and terror that kept me living in constant fear, with a psycho man as the puppeteer pulling my strings. Black Friday had grown into the darkest chapter of my life. I realized I had to outsmart the insane mind that had trapped me in its web of madness if I wanted to get out of this terrifying nightmare.